what I'm going to do now is address the left div tag, both in the HTML side and also the CSS properties side. And I'm going to start adding CSS properties to this left div. Why might I want to do that? Well, if we take a look at the page itself in the browser, if you look at it, you will see very quickly that our page doesn't exactly look the way I want it to. I have a border added to this menu area just so I can see the outline of the div. So I think it might be a good idea to begin to do that with the left div as well. It just makes it easier for you to see what's going on and what pieces of the page are located where. So the first thing I want to do is take this left div, create a style rule for it, and one of the properties I want to assign is a border. The other property I want to assign is a width, because by default, HTML puts a div tag extending all the way across the page. So let's go do that. Now if I scroll up to my styles here is my header ID and the CSS properties attached to that at this point. Here's my menu ID, and it's 3 properties right now. What I'm going to do is add #left for my left ID, and I will go ahead and create an area here where I can start adding properties. Now you can see within this section I have a width for the header and also a width for the menu. So I will go ahead and add a width here, and let me just guess at 300 pixels. That sounds about right. Now this width is not quite lining up here, and that's because if you notice this menu is all the way on the left alignment, this one is not. So I'll just manually fix that for now. It's a quick and easy way to handle it. But if I put my cursor all the way to the left and tab, now it goes to the perfect location. Why do I indent here and put these brackets on separate lines? Well, you can begin to see why. It's just easier to understand the more properties you get for a particular selector, and this is the selector, the item in front of the left curly bracket, the easier it is to understand what goes with what. Now CSS itself does not care. This could all be on a single line, all of these pieces. But if I come in to modify it later, it makes it very difficult for me to read it. So that's why I am adding this indentation, and I'm just hitting the tab key to do that. So over here, I'll go up to our left. I'm assigning a width of 300 pixels, just a rough estimate for now. The other thing I want to do is add a border like our menu has. So I'm just going to copy that and I'll paste it down here. Now when I do that, it will at least allow me to tell where that left ID is located. So let me save this and go out to the browser again, so at least I can see the outline of my div. Now I could have added a background color to this. That would have worked just fine as well, but I'll just add a border for now. I'll leave that up to you, whatever method you wish to add. But for now, I'll just add a border. So there is my column. Now you can see my page, even though I restricted the width to 300 pixels, it did not move my content up alongside. And I will address that moving forward. What I prefer to do is, I know I have a menu and I have 2 columns next to it. So what I'm going to do is I have the menu created. Here is the first column, and what I'm going to do is add all of the content for the second column. Then I start moving into a little bit more of the positioning piece. A border is technically speaking a part of the CSS box model. The CSS box model includes a border, margin, and padding for every box of content on the page, as well as every HTML tag on the page. So I've technically moved into CSS positioning when I added the border. I also added a width, and this one has padding as well. But I tend to do these gradually. I'll start with width and border so that I can place my content into a narrower piece, which is easier to manipulate, and then I'll add a border so I can see what I'm doing. Once those get all set up and I get the content added, then I can start adding and fine-tuning what's considered more of the positioning piece. And let me line this up. I like this code to be nicely lined up. And I'll move into that positioning piece, and that's when you can really start manipulating your content. But what I did was simply created a CSS rule for the left div tag, added a width, added a border so I can see where that box is located. And that box I'm referencing is this div down here with some paragraphs of content inside of it. So I manipulated this div tag and added a border. So when I move into positioning this, it will be much easier to see what I'm doing.